But to look your enemy in the eye, knowing you'll remember his face for the rest of your life, now that takes a stomach much stronger than you'll ever have.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Modders on Modding. Now last week we spoke a little bit about sound, and this week we're going to speak about something that's just as important as sound, and in some cases more important. We're going to talk about music. Joining me today is Waseem. He is a musical composer. Hello Waseem.
Hello. Thank you for having me on here. It's awesome. Big shout out to you from the city of Manchester.
Oh, you're in Manchester. I didn't know that, ladies and gentlemen. See, he's teaching me new things every day.
Yep.
Okay, so Waseem is a composer, and he's composed for some titles that you may know. As you know, I'm a Sins modder, and Waseem has composed for Dawn of the Reapers and Sins of the Prophets. Isn't that right, good sir?
That is right. I began on Sins of the Prophets and now working on Dawn of the Reapers.
So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about your history, what brought you into wanting to make musical scores, and the actual process of making musical scores themselves.
Right.
So what I actually want to start with, what I want to open with, my gambit, ladies and gentlemen, is what made you recognize the value of music in the computer game industry?
Okay. When I play a computer game, one of the first things I hear, and I always usually put it full blast, is the music. It's so inspiring. It helps me to immerse myself in the video game that I'm playing. It's like you're there. It acts like a form of bridge. It makes everything just seem so much more real.
Absolutely.
If you can imagine. For me, it's always been like the key ingredient to helping somebody, you know, understand what they're doing and, you know, make everything mean something.
I want to hear that again. I want to experience that again.
Yeah.
And that's what music is about in game. It's about experiencing, and it's for me, it's always added a depth of emotion. Like, for example, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to play you a quick scene from a computer game. First, I'm going to play part of that scene without music, and then I'm going to play it with the music. And you'll be able to tell immediately that there's a huge difference in the emotion that you feel personally from that particular scene. So here goes, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, that was the scene. Right. What did you think of that, ladies and gentlemen? I'm sure you felt differently in each of those scenes, in spite of the fact that the visual representation of them was identical. Okay, back to you, Waseem. Was there a defining sequence or a defining game that really made you think about the music and made you think, I want to do this?
Ooh, defining moment sequence, right. For me, it would have to be Killzone. Yeah. The introduction cutscene, basically when you see Visari and he's giving his amazing speech to the Helghast, and you see the huge build-up as he reaches towards the end of his speech, the music building up and reaching towards a huge climax. I mean, yeah, if anybody who could see this, you could definitely tell, you know, the music had a huge important part to play with the, you know, setting the tone. You could literally, after watching this, understand intimately what this game and story was going to be all about. And yeah, that did it for me. Yeah, I have a few other ones, but I thought I might share this one because I'm sure a lot of other people have seen it. It's quite a popular game and franchise, Killzone.
An exodus for freedom. Helghan became that freedom. Our new world changed our bodies. At first, it weakened us, but in fact, we were growing stronger. In the time you have given me, I have rebuilt our nation. I have rebuilt our strength. And I have rebuilt our pride. Our enemies at home have been re-educated. We have given them new insights into our cause. On this day, we stand united once more. On this day, those driven to divide us will hear our voice. On this day, we shall act as one, and we shall be ignored no more!
General Adams, sir! We got multiple Hellgas vessels approaching. What do we do, sir?
Fire! Defenders of the Hellgas dream, now is our time!
Yeah, I mean, the musical themes, especially also including Killzone, you can also include Halo in that category with the choir theme. They really, really do bring out the best in terms of making that experience come straight at home and, you know, making it seem so much more real.
And that's something that we're definitely doing with both Dawn of the Reapers and Sins of the Prophets. Like particularly the opening themes of both games, which you'll be hearing a little bit of during this video. They have added a lot of definition to the games, and I'm really, really pleased that you've made such powerful themes for them. So thank you.
Thank you.
Right, we're going to continue talking about composing. I just wonder what made you take those first steps. How did you start out with composing?
Okay, yeah, this is an interesting one. So when I was a teenager, my father used to go every Saturday, Sunday to these markets. One day he brought back home this box full of software, and it was full of all these programs, some of which you'd never want to install on somebody's computer, especially not mine. But in there, it had this one program, and it was called Dance CJ3.
Yeah, yes, good old Dance CJ.
It was great. I mean, you had all the loops that you could ever need already built in with the software. All you needed to do was basically drag and drop them onto this timeline, and you could have multiple different layers. So you ended up just making these, you know, 5 3-minute songs in a matter of seconds, just dragging and dropping as you choose. It was literally just going into a candy store and picking what was your favorite sweet. It was just great.
So you felt that what really sparked it off for you in the first place was you found something that was above anything else fun.
Fun, definitely. I mean, I definitely wouldn't have continued using it if I didn't find it fun or interesting at the time. And for me, it was very easy just to go about this process. I was dragging and dropping loops and samples onto the timeline, coming up with all these songs in my head. It was just all spur of the moment stuff.
I see.
And I literally spent so much time on that thing, you know. Came up with so many songs. I think I came up with like 2 albums worth of it. Eventually, I outgrew it basically. I wanted more, you know, after once what was just a casual interest became slowly an obsession. I tried to look far and wide for samples that I could, you know, loop. I even used parts of songs and mashed them up together and creating some really random bootleg remixes, which I'll never show anybody for the life of me. And yeah, the penny dropped for me when I reached 17. After my birthday, my father, bless him, bought me my first MIDI keyboard, the Akai LPK25. And yeah, I think if you just show it, it was a very simple keyboard. It just had only 2 octaves worth of keys. But literally the possibilities were endless, because I could literally make my own samples, my own loops, the way I wanted it to, purely because I could now touch the keys myself.
To be honest with you, there's a lot of us, myself included, that don't have a musical bone in our body. We appreciate music, we appreciate the sounds, but the second you give me a guitar, the closest thing I'm going to do is go rockstar and smash it up. I'm not able to play any musical instruments very well. I did try with the violin, it was terrible. But this, pieces of technology like this, they allow you to explore your creativity and explore things like this without actually having to necessarily master a particular instrument, because that's years of hard work. And although admittedly making something good on the software that you use, Waseem, also takes years of hard work.
It is, and it takes years of hard work, especially. I mean, you're opening up a different kind of worms altogether. In fact, you know, learning an instrument might not seem such a bad idea compared to, you know, trying to control software and trying to basically tell it, literally, just to be human. And yeah, I mean,
I've been trying that with Max for some time.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because you develop your own ways around these softwares that you use to make music, and it's like the ultimate contradiction, because ultimately trying to make something so musical and so sort of something that can basically come from the soul, so to speak, and you're basically trying to find that in a place where there is literally no soul, in the heart of a computer.
No, that's definitely true. Right, we were talking about Dance EJ. One thing I would ask, which I'm sure a lot of modders or potential modders are maybe scratching their heads thinking, okay, so how am I going to learn about all these things? What is pitch bending? What is this? What is that? Are there any websites that you could suggest that have a lot of tutorials to broaden people's knowledge of what sound work is all about and how they can perhaps do these things in the music industry?
When I first started, there was not as much compared to what there is now. It's mainly because, you know, through social networking, people are getting more, you know, friendly and, you know, they love to share, etc. You know, this is the age of sharing and caring, as it were. So there's one called vicontrol.net. That's one I found out thanks to Gaius, with the D silent. He's from Covenant War. He's the composer over there. He told me about it, and yeah, it's a great place. It's literally geared around people who are making music from computer and software.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be linking all these things at the bottom in the description, so you can take a look at them yourselves. And was there anything else that you could suggest?
Of course, you always have YouTube. You can you can YouTube so many people now, just music production, music composition, tutorials, you name it.
Okay, it's just up to people kind of using their imagination and looking for it, and they will find something.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
exactly.
Once you were done with Dance EJ, once you decided you wanted to broaden your range of skills, are there any tools that you kind of you picked up later on, perhaps that you found on the internet, that were free to use tools? Okay,
so in my searches, I came across this very useful webpage, and it has literally all laid out for you. The 27 of the best free softwares, apparently, which you can use in conjunction with your main music making program. They're in VST format. Yeah, they're all free.
Fantastic stuff.
I'll have them in the description below, and yeah, you can just go on there, go through the various links, and just download them and use them for free. So yeah, that should be fun.
Okay.
If you're looking into making music, you've probably already heard the names Reaper software, Reaper, Pro Tools, Logic.
That's good, because I haven't got a clue.
Sonar, Cubase. For myself, I use something called Studio One. It's made by PreSonus.
Does it include a kind of visual representation of what you're doing as well?
And it's pretty good. It comes with its own loops and samples as well, so you don't really have to search far and wide for your own, so to speak. You can just...
That's quite useful.
Yeah,
so you'd be able to experiment with it.
Yeah, you can.
Kind of, and really get a good feel for it quite early on if you did choose to get that software.
Yeah, a lot of these softwares, they should have a demo or at least a free version. So
I see.
A combination of the both. Studio One has a free version which you can download from the PreSonus website. The trick is just to uninstall and reinstall it once you
I see.
Once it expires, I guess you can try that. We'll see what happens. Don't quote me right now.
Now, we're going to go game specific. We said that you were a musical composer for Sins of the Prophets and Dawn of the Reapers.
Yep.
I'm just going to play a short extract from each of those games to show you the kind of flavour of music that you have brought into them. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That was the opening tracks to each of those games, and they add a flavour and a feel to those games. I'm actually just going to ask you a couple of questions about those games, if you don't mind.
Sure, fire away.
Fantastic stuff. Now, what cues, we're going to talk about Mass Effect first. What cues did you take, audio-wise, from Mass Effect in order to create a music that had the right flavour and was appropriate to the scene that you were trying to set? Were there any particular sounds that you made use of, or styles of sound?
No. Well, there is that sound that you picked up on in the main theme, startup theme, which was identifiable towards the Reapers, you know, the buzzsaw sound. That was intentional, but to drop on the theme, so, okay, Mass Effect for me is a very, very emotional journey. You watch Commander Shepard explore the galaxy, then towards the end, no spoiler, you know, he encounters the most grisliest of fates in attempts to defend the Earth, and yeah, I wanted to convey a sense of epicness about that journey. So that's one of the reasons why I chose that sort of tone instead of a very familiar sorrow, doom and gloom style of sound that, you know, was previously featured in that sense. Of course, you know, you have the exploration themes where it's all sci-fi and, you know, synths and stuff. But the theme that I drew heavily most from for the creation of what you hear on Dawn of the Reapers, especially the main menu, that track, it's a derivative inspired from my previous and first ever original work on my first ever project, which was also a mod of Sins of Solar Empire.
Was that Dawn of Victory, is that right?
It was called New Dawn.
Oh, New Dawn. There we go, ladies and gentlemen.
And so what happened was I first came onto the modding scene with New Dawn. It was my first ever project, like I said. I just started creating these music tracks for the fun of it, and I posted them on the profile. And it was great. These were like my first ever, you know, when you first start music, you know, you come up with some really cool stuff. And these compositions that I made, they're very, very close to me and special to me. Unfortunately, that year also, I suffered a huge meltdown with my hard drive, and I lost everything.
Oh, that must have been devastating.
It's a bit of a sweet moment, though, because thankfully, the only copies that remains, as it were, are actually still published on New Dawn's profile on ModDB. So yeah, it's a very, very interesting situation. So what it is now, we have a hiatus at New Dawn, so I don't think it'll be a while before it gets finished, put it that way. So with all the soundtrack works that were there, I kind of felt as if something was unfinished, and it, you know, for me, I always wanted to finish something before moving on to another project, so to speak. So at first, when I came to Halo, I tried to sort of put that at the back of my head and just, you know, have a fresh start. But then as I got successful with Halo, you know, Dawn of the Reapers was there, and I thought, you know, this is a very good opportunity for me to sort of finish something that I previously started at New Dawn, and
it allowed you to recapture that same sense of progression.
yeah, the comments I got at New Dawn, they all always pointed towards, yes, this sounds like Mass Effect, etc. So I thought, okay, I'm going to revive and, you know, just sort of, it's kind of like a personal tribute in a way to that soundtrack. What you hear on the Dawn of the Reaper's main menu is literally a sort of revival of what I tried to do at New Dawn. It's my attempt of finishing what I started, basically. So yeah, it has a little bit of personal flavor in there, and yeah, that's one of the inspirations of what I drew upon for the Dawn of the Reaper's main menu track, startup theme.
Okay, I'll link that, ladies and gentlemen, so you can have a listen. That's good. We're also going to talk about Halo, because it would be unfair to talk about one and not the other. Was there a particular style that you chose to go for with the Halo music that you produced? Just for example, we all know the kind of the opening theme, if you like, for the Halo Combat Evolved computer game. Did you choose to take cues from that, or did you go down another route?
Well, you know, the Sins of the Prophet soundtrack, for me, it's my special baby. It's been there for like, I've been in the project for like 3-4 years. I've had so much ample time to just spend time pursuing and, you know, coming up with new ideas and new ways to reinvent something that was so well defined, you know, from Marty O'Donnell's score of Halo, you know, with the iconic choir theme. I think it was inevitable that I would eventually, you know, come up to use the similar elements, but in no way was I trying to replicate or even make something of a derivative to what Marty did. With all due respect, I was basically trying to create my own interpretation of what it would feel like if you were a Spartan in space and you were literally seconds away from dying, knowing that if your spaceship blew up, that was it, game over. It's not like in, you know, on the ground where you've got places to hide. Literally in space, no one can hear you scream, as if it were. So it was great fun to create it. That main menu track as well, it was such a huge work on my part. It took all year to complete. It went through 14 revisions. Great shout out from TGN, who also, you know, heard it when they said it was the best music I ever heard in a mod. I mean, it really sent me over the moon when I heard that, and reaction from the fans when they heard it first time, I mean, that was one of the best times of my life.
It is great though.
Yeah.
I mean, I did post you one of my first playthroughs. I think it was the release video to the latest release of Sins of the Prophets, and I got really excited about the music at one point, just because I was really feeling it. So thank you for actually giving me that sense of emotion in the game.
Thank you, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It's alright. Right. Now that we've actually spoken about those games themselves, will there be another soundtrack going into Sins of the Prophets?
Well, you mean if I have more work? Basically, yeah, I spoke to Sancho the other night, and so it's funny, I have 2 mods. One is Sins of the Prophets, which are getting closer to the finish line, but they still have some work to do. And then with Dawn of the Reapers, they're literally just, you know, only started in terms of the production cycle. So yeah, I've got a lot of work.
Yeah, you're a busy man.
I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I've got a lot of work in my hands, even with Sins of the Prophets. I mean, you're looking at 30 tracks just already done.
I see.
Still got a few more to do with them.
And are you continuing your work with Dawn of the Reapers as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna have to spend a lot more time on the ambient tracks, and you know, I've got a good baseline with what I have in Dawn of the Reapers. It should be a lot more straightforward as compared to with Halo. It was a huge learning process for me in the beginning, so I'll be looking to, you know, make it a lot more faster than what I did.
And when you find yourself working with these mods, have you found that actually working with the teams that were involved with the mods has allowed you to broaden your skills, or has allowed you to come up with new material?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, working with alongside Sancho, who you interviewed before, he's a great guy. He definitely knows what he's doing when it comes to sound effects and voiceovers, and it's great because whenever I show him a track, I love just hearing his reaction. And yeah, he could have made my job a lot more difficult by telling me what he expected in terms for the music, but he just let me roll with it, and yeah, it was great because I could just basically blasted his expectations, so to speak. I don't want to try and sound, But yeah, Sancho's a great guy. We also have Gaius in the audio department for Sins of the Prophets. He's also the music composer for Covenant War. He's a great guy to talk to. Me and him have lots of debates and arguments about music composition in general. So yeah, great bunch, the guys at SOTP, and yeah, they're always there, and yeah, I like the dynamic we have as a team.
Right. We've discussed the modding scene. You've obviously made your mark on the modding scene, particularly with the games that we've discussed today, and you've proven yourself as a composer, both with those mods themselves, and people have heard you on the internet via these mods. What do you think is going to be coming next for you as a result of the work that you've been doing?
Well, I'm already in the process of working in games at the moment, sound side. I'm doing the music and sound effects for a few apps. Hopefully one will be coming out soon, in this month, hopefully.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I'm also working on an MMO. I can't say much about that though, NDA.
Right.
And yeah, so sound in games at the moment, that's what I'm currently aiming towards and what I'm doing, and yeah, I'm just building on top of each project.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to get into the modding scene, sometimes that is going to open doors for you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it goes without saying, my work that I did on Sins of the Prophets and now Dawn of the Reapers, it certainly hasn't gone unnoticed. I definitely recommend, if you want to get into games through the sound perspective, whether it's sound effects or music, definitely work on mods, because that's the best place to practice your skills.
And it allows you a good way to showcase your skills, particularly if they're going to be popular mods. Like, to be honest with you, I mean, you couldn't have chosen better with a Mass Effect mod and a Halo mod, because they've already got really big static audiences, so your work was always going to get onto YouTube, it was always going to get onto the internet as a result.
Well, I got personally invited to work on Sins of the Prophets, so it was a special way for me to get in those projects. But yeah, it goes without saying, it's certainly great when, you have an exposure on that kind of level, so yeah.
Yeah, definitely does. So, I mean, I've been quite lucky in the respect that I do some Star Trek work.
Yeah,
so
a lot of people like Star Trek.
I think we lucked out with what we ended up dropping into. It might not have been the original intention.
Yeah, well, when I got in, I mean, while it was perfectly sort of, I can imagine, when you get into that sort of position and you're given this kind of responsibility, it might be very easy just to simply just do your work and not think twice about it. But for me, getting to such projects like Halo, now Dawn of the Reapers, I really sort of wanted to push myself, because, especially with Dawn of the Reapers, I mean, after doing Halo, with Sins of the Prophets, I really wanted to sort of see if I could reinvent the same thing twice. I mean, I had already made my mark on the epic sci-fi genre, and with Sins of the Prophets, but with Dawn of the Reapers, it also came the opportunity to see if, are you going to be one-hit wonder, Waseem, or can you do it again from scratch, so to speak. So I really wanted to push myself with the Dawn of the Reapers soundtrack. Each track has been the product of, hard work, which, alongside Armand, he's a great mastering engineer, and yeah, in terms of both soundtracks, I've always strived to push myself further and see how far I go, and yeah, it's been great.
And that's another really, really good piece of advice for any budding modders out there. Always push for more.
Yeah.
Even if you don't think you can do it, try, because you might just surprise yourself.
Yeah, and you don't have to throw yourself into the deep end. You can start off small, because there's going to be a lot of things you're going to be dealing with, not just music related. You're going to be tackling with stress. You're going to be tackling with how to make a track in the first place. You're going to have to deal with stuff like, how can I come up with something so inspiring and creative in this room of mine, which has 4 walls and a window, maybe. You can take walks, you can take breaks. I encourage that. Work in moderation, that's how they say. But yeah, I mean, it's not as easy and straightforward as you think. It might be more easier to start something than it is to finish, and I will always say try and finish, because that's what really is the best education. Because when you try and finish something, you go through all the aspects of producing. Is it ready? Is it going to be, does it sound okay? And then you've got mixing and mastering to worry about, which is another kind of worms altogether. But yeah, I mean, in the beginning, you're gonna have a lot of creativity. You're gonna have a lot of exciting ideas and just write them down. Try and create as many tracks as possible, because as you get older, as you continue this, you're probably going to find it hard to come up with new ideas. So what happened to me was sometimes when I get stuck on an idea, I basically revisit old stuff that I've made, and I just basically polish it up and, you know, redo them again, and yeah, it's great.
So give yourself your own cues for the future.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I never even thought about that, but that is actually a really good thing to do.
Well, it sounded like a good idea at the time. I mean, obviously you don't have to do everything, you know, by the book. A lot of it will just be personal self-exploration. At the end of the day, you do what you want to do. It's your music, it's your life. I guess that's it.
Well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that was some good advice for you all. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are thinking about getting into music scoring, if you're thinking about getting into modding in general, all some lovely advice there. And yeah, I'm really, really happy to have had you on the show. Thank you very much, Waseem.
Thank you for having me. I hope it was educational and entertaining for everybody.
And hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, we will be seeing and hearing more of Waseem's work in the near future. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gold Ducat, out.